Let's turn on the mic this time. I should give myself one of those. Let me do that here. All right, since I screwed up there, there it is. Because dumbass me did not have the mic, the audio turned off. Because who wants to hear me singing or talking while the music's playing here? Because when I get on here early, I put the music on right away just so I can give you guys some interlude, something to keep you guys busy. And tonight, played about 25 minutes of music off of Spotify, then opened it up with Dancing in the Streets, the David Bowie and Mick Jagger version, which was pretty much shot in like the whole production of it, which, since it was a song that was already done a million times in music history, the whole production, recording the song, and then making the music video. Because remember those things called music videos? Am I aging myself with that? But yeah, it's a lot of interesting stuff here. The whole process took about maybe 12 to 16 hours tops. I mean, video, song, everything. So very, very interesting process that it was back in 1985, I believe. So we'll get to that. But we're going to have fun tonight here. A lot to talk about here. I'm going to talk about asterisks in sports. There's a possibility of one possibly coming up this weekend. Let me just double check that as I talk to you as well. Also, changes in sports. There's a rule change that the Eagles propose. There's rule changes in the college game that are coming up, possibly. And a couple of stupid things that I saw here. I'm sorry, stupid shit I saw. One's going to be one's going to be Grapefruit League related, and one's just going to be an off the wall story. It won't be a video attached to it this week, but a couple of goofy stories I saw here, and where was it? Oh, well, I can't find it. The hell with it. Oh, here it is. This was from 97.1 The Ticket. That's going to come up later. Apparently, somebody got pissed that the drive-through line was too long at a fast food restaurant. So all that and more coming up here on the show tonight on this Tuesday. Hope everybody had a great week. Great weekend. Me got to go out a little bit on Saturday. Finally feeling better. And then started to feel a little crappy last night and earlier today, but I'm feeling fine again. Rockin Reese, welcome aboard here. And also, just to let you know, I'm expecting the crowd to arrive late tonight because I know I'm going against Tony Bruno tonight. And, it wasn't done on purpose. I scheduled my stuff in advance. I'm not complaining, because the one thing I will tell you every week, every show that I do, I am archiving this video-wise for 2 weeks. I am going to upload these shows on YouTube as well. So, just the next phase here. I just got to re-download it onto the new external drive that I have here so I can get it up. Yes, I can get it up with Viagra. No, so I can get the videos up on YouTube so that I can, download them and then upload it onto YouTube so everybody can do that as well. Because on here, on No Filter, it'll be in the system. It will be available to everybody for 2 weeks. once 2 weeks is up, I guess it just disappears. I'm still new to no filter, so just getting used to it. So got a different setup tonight. I am actually usually I'm on the work computer over here, which is all blurred out. I'm not on the work computer. I'm at that work desk that I have. But I chose to do a little different here, a little bit better light here. And it also gives me the opportunity to do stupid shit like this. One thing I gotta tell you about my shows.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Yep. And, sometimes I got some stories where.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
It's not the ideal soundboard, but it's what I have for right now to get things going here tonight. So I also want to do a little rant later on, but I'm going to talk about that later if I remember, because I saw something on, what was it, Sunday? When did I go to the store? I'm looking here because I'm going to. And I know this is such great podcasting and streaming here. Actually, I posted it. Monday afternoon while I was working. Shh, don't tell the boss. But it was something I saw on Sunday. I was like, okay, let me go paparazzi with that picture. I'll show you that later as well. So lots of fun stuff to talk about here, and let's begin with, because this is something that even if you watch a show after the fact, I'm gonna feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Joe Quills. The show handle is Philly Guy Speaks. Just drop the word "the," and you'll see what I mean here. Now, when you think of the word asterisk in sports, it all began with 61, probably, because if you remember seeing the movie 61, the Billy Crystal movie, you know that, at least in the movie, and trust me, a lot of times these movies, they twist things around, because I can tell you for a fact, if you go into a literature class, especially a class at Drexel University that they have had, but I don't know if they have it anymore, it was called Literature of Baseball. And the one thing I will recommend is do not write the movie ending. And I won't tell you what happens in the book. I'm going to make you read the end of the book. I'm going to make you read the whole book, possibly. I want the book reports by next week. No, I'm only kidding. But just to let you guys know, the book ending is different from from the movie ending. So if you read the book after watching the movie, or you do the opposite, you'll notice that there's two different endings, because let's just say we know the movie ending of The Natural. Most of us do. The one thing I will say to you is the book is a great ending, but it's not. There's no way they could have made that into the movie. So, but the reason why I say with movies, because Hollywood tends to make happy endings out of everything, and so do the girls down in Chinatown. But if you think about it, it started with 61. Roger Maris's home run record, because he didn't get it in the 154 games that Babe Ruth got his 60. As you know, Roger Maris got 61 on the final game of the season. But truthfully, I mean, when we look at it now, we look at Barry Bonds, we look at Mark McGwire, we look at Sammy Sosa, you name it. I mean, most of the baseball records of the most in that steroid area between 95 and when the testing actually began in the early 2000s, the year escapes me, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to say here. A lot of those records are fraudulent, and everybody will say, oh, that's an asterisk here, blah, blah, blah. That's an asterisk, that's a fraud. That's a fraud record, blah, 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 whatever. But but the one thing I will say with those, even though it's records that'll never be broken, even if they are the illegitimate records, they're still records. But there is one record that has the potential of being broken this weekend, and I'm going to double check that as well here, just to make sure I got the right dates here. And I'm pulling the stuff up here. Once again, great podcasting and streaming for me. Where is it? Okay, I found it. So going back to this here, there's a possibility that a record which we thought would never be broken has the potential this weekend, or this week actually. Actually, the first round's tonight for the Horizon basketball tournament, the men's basketball tournament. And a player at Detroit Mercy University, at least I think it's university, could be Detroit Mercy College, whatever, but Detroit Mercy, there's a player there by the name of Antoine Davis. He's a 6'1" guard. There's a possibility that he could pass Pete Maravich's NCAA record of 3,667 points, a record that has stood since 1970. Now, why do I say that there should be an asterisk on there? It's not because Pete Maravich only played 3 years. It was what it was back then. Freshmen didn't play college basketball. I mean, think about it now. I mean, if you're not playing freshman basketball, if you're not playing as a freshman at a college, it's because you're in the G League, you're over in Europe, you're here, you're there, you're doing whatever you can to make a little money. But be a little interesting now because of the fact that now with NIL, and I did mention on my podcast on Friday night how the Cavender twins got University of Miami into trouble. Well, they're social media darlings and other crap like that. So they have their own thing as well. So, but in this case, going back to this, there's a possibility that this record could fall this week. Now, Antoine Davis, and the article says it perfectly, off the radar, because I think the last time Detroit Mercy was mentioned other than an NCAA tournament game was, I believe, wasn't Dick Vitale a coach there before he went to the Pistons or something? Because I know a famous coach, a coach that became more famous after the fact, went there. So, and if I'm wrong, so be it. And if I'm thinking of a different coach, feel free to tweet me. And We'll get it. We'll get it right. We'll correct myself, even if I have to correct myself on Thursday night. But Antoine Davis has passed everyone in the all-time scoring list, except for Maravich. The son of Detroit Mercy coach Mike Davis, Antoine has piled up 3,604 points during his 5-year college career. And I'll get into why that was a 5-year career in a moment. But he's 63 shy of equaling a record that had previously gone unthreatened for more than half of a century. Now, it would be fitting if it does happen because Kobe did break. I mean, not Kobe. Jesus Christ. Let me give myself another one of those. LeBron, who is out for a couple of weeks now with a foot injury. I mean, who knows? You may not even see him play again this year, in my opinion. And that's just me thinking. I'm not hearing anything. And if it happens, it's just strictly coincidence. LeBron passed Kareem probably because it was Laker passing Laker, even though some question whether LeBron's a real Laker or not. I couldn't care less. LeBron broke the record a week or two ago. And then he hurt his foot. He said he heard something pop. And when you hear something pop, that's not good. That's not good no matter what you do, whether it's a foot, a finger, a wrist. If something pops, then something happened in that foot that, me being a guy that sprained my ankle so many times, and the one time I did hear a pop, somehow I didn't break my ankle. But going back to this story, Davis has a possibility of breaking that record this week. And remember, the NCAA gave student athletes a waiver a couple years ago because the 2020-2021 season, the 1920 season, because I'll be home from working from home for 3 years next month. He was able to take advantage of an NCAA waiver, grading athletes an extra year of eligibility due to COVID-19 disruptions. And we've seen it. I mean, we saw it with Villanova last year with the Gillespie kid. So you will see that from time to time, but this is someone who has a chance to break an all-time record that even now, even when when this waiver finally expires in a couple of years, because these student athletes will be aged out, played out, attended out, whatever, that waiver, and the next thing you know, they're all not going to fall into that. But and we see that every once in a while, that we see like so and so's there for 5 years because of a red shirt, or somebody's there because whatever, or the old transfer rules, which no longer exist. But and the person who wrote this article, which was Jeff Eisenberg, and I don't know if he's with Yahoo, where I found this article, or it was just an aggregator. Because the way Yahoo is, you just see all these stories at once, and that's what I do. Sometimes I look there for a couple of interesting stories. It happens, and Eisenberg says it's easy to dismiss some of Davis's achievements because it's taken him 141 games to approach what Maravich did in '83. and because Davis's scoring exploits haven't propelled Detroit Mercy into contention for league titles and NCAA tournament bids. Now, the last part's fair, because Detroit Mercy, they play in a conference that's tough for even a mid-major like them, a lower level team like that. But if I'm going to give an asterisk here, it's not because 141 versus 83. It's because he had a fifth year because of COVID. Now, granted, they might have played that entire. As a matter of fact, they had to play that whole conference tourney that year back in 2020. Because if you remember, that Thursday when a couple of was it Denver Nuggets? One of the teams, I think it was the Denver Nuggets, because one of the players was a real jackass. He goes, "Oh, I ain't afraid of COVID. Let me rub my hands all over the microphone and stuff." And then he got COVID. But this isn't a COVID conversation in terms of the political shit of it, because you believe what you want, whatever. I'm not. That's not what this is about. But little by little, everything started shutting down. If you remember, once they announced that, NBA stopped playing that, they ceased operations that night. The NHL slowly after that, MLB slowly after that. And then, if you remember, and I didn't get a chance to watch it because I could have watched it from Rudy Gobert. Thank you. I had the right part of the country. Yeah, Rudy Gobert was on the Jazz. That's right. Yeah, I remember now. I know it was one of those mountain cities, so it was either Denver. It was one of those mountain teams, either Denver or Utah. Thanks to Rockin Reese for correcting me on there. And like I say, I'm probably wrong more than I'm right. So be it. And feel free to correct me. But everything started shutting down little by little. And I was supposed to go on vacation that week. I was supposed to go to Vegas for the tournament. And I was like, do I really want to go? Do I want to? Because I wasn't afraid of COVID, even though, I do have some conditions. Like, for example, I got this, I'm fat, high blood pressure, all that shit. And mind you, back 3 years ago, when that first hit, it was almost like, it was almost like Conor McGregor.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Now, it wasn't who the fuck was that guy. It was, what the fuck is this thing that's floating around? And, and I'm not going to talk about the lockdowns and stuff like that. It's just that what you do for some, you got to do for the others. What you do for one, you do for all. And nothing wrong with Antoine Davis getting an opportunity for a fifth year. Now, there's some interesting things that occurred as well. And it may have been what I'm about to tell you that said, you know what? I'm not as far away from this record as possible. And welcome in PenguinAZ as well. Hope you had a good day out there. If I was an athlete, I would take advantage of that as well. Now, granted, I'd probably be finishing up a bachelor's degree, because let me tell you, when I was in college the first time, I only cared about two things: the basketball games, where I was doing little things like one game they had me as the mascot. Another game I was PA announcing. The next game I was doing the camera work for the game. And yes, PenguinAZ mentions the second reason, the hot chicks. That's exactly it. So So yeah, it probably would have. I mean, if I was an athlete, it probably would have taken me 6 years to graduate, or maybe what it really took me because I took a break for about 10 years. And my mom was always on my ass about it. When you going back to school? When you going back to school? I'm like, Mom, when I'm ready to go. And I found a perfect thing. I found an online program at Drexel. Got 1 degree. I got 2 degrees. I could have gone on and gotten, but I didn't. I only got 2, and got a bachelor's and I got a master's degree. Um, and I probably would have, if I was an athlete, I probably would have gone 5 or 6 years. Just to let you behind the curtain here before I finish up this story on Antoine Davis. Just to let you know, I am sitting where my gaming PC is tonight, only because there's a little bit better light. And I'm on the laptop, the good laptop. So since I'm on the Samsung, I can blur this shit out behind me so you can't see the mess that I have. Well, it's not that bad. That isn't that camera with the blur. It is an option with the Samsung laptop I have. So I could probably play games on here as well. But so here's what happened with Antoine Davis. He went into the transfer portal after his 4th year. I mean, I don't know if you can call it his senior year or not. I mean, I don't know if they label him as a senior or graduate student or whatever they label him. Label him whatever you want. But he went into the transfer portal and he went to a couple different schools. He went to, he had interest in BYU, in Kansas State, in Georgetown, and in Maryland. All programs that needed a high-scoring guard. Good thing he didn't go to Georgetown because Georgetown is total shit. I talked about that last week. He did campus visits, toured glittering facilities. He listened to each coaching staff's vision on how to use them. But in what the BYU coach, Mark Pope, did to try to recruit him to BYU, the Stormin' Mormons, as I like to call them, each page of a spiral-bound book contained a picture of a college hoops icon and a number signifying how many career points he scored. There was Michael Jordan in there. There was a couple others, Pete Maravich, 3667. And then at the end of the book, or the end of all the pages that they were used in that book, it had a picture of Antoine, and it said 3668, which is one more than what Pistol Pete had in his career. Now, after thinking about it, he decided, you know what? I'm going back to Detroit Mercy. I could go into the spotlight, maybe get drafted, late first round, second round, whatever. But you say if it didn't feel right for him to finish his career anywhere else, and good for him. And you know what? That's what the transfer portal is what's supposed to be for, not to go from team to team. And I know that there's 1 or 2 football players that went to 4 different schools in 4 years, which is not the intent. But in his case, he said, you know what? Let me look at these schools that want to recruit me in for the 5th year. He went there. Went to a couple other schools, probably went to other schools that weren't mentioned here. He said, you know what? I'm staying there. Now with 60 some points to go, he's probably going to need 2 games. They are playing in an 8-9 game tonight. They are playing Purdue, IPFW, Purdue Fort Wayne. Let me see if I can get a score on that. I'm going to give you some live update action, yo. Horizon. Okay, so it looks like Detroit Mercy will advance here. There's eight minutes and change left. They're up 14, 60-46. And Davis has 30 points, so there's a possibility he could break the record in the next round. Now, granted, they would have to go on the road to the number 1 seed, which is Youngstown State. How about that without looking at the brackets, huh? But, took advantage of something that is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Getting a 5th year because of the fact that we had everything shut down for months, killed that 2020 season. So you have a great opportunity to see a record fall, but do we put an asterisk on there because of the fact he had a 5th year? If it was 4 versus 3 and he got there, then I'm not giving an asterisk. He went to 4 years like he was supposed to. Even though most kids don't even go 1 year, they go to the G League or they go to Europe or they go to that Lamar, that league that goofball ball has. But and he even had the kid even has the right idea when it comes to breaking this record. He's more focused on winning games, which, is the right thing. It isn't about him, even though he's got 30 points tonight, because, you're just going to feed him because he's the guy on the team. He's the star. But he had the perfect statement here. The more games we play, the better chance I have to break it. Because you know what? You never know. You could have rolled an ankle, let's say, and been out for the game after scoring 3 points. Or, Purdue Fort Wayne actually locked down on him and, he's shooting 2 of 23 for the game. I'm making numbers up, but you get the idea. You never know what's going to happen. And he may go to Youngstown State, score nothing. Well, actually, it may not even be Youngstown State, actually, because I forgot they don't have the hard bracket. They have the they reseed after each round, so they'll probably be at Youngstown State in a couple of days, but it's not set until all 3 of the first round games are done tonight. And we are 3.5 hours away from the month of March, which also means March Madness is here. Well, March Madness has been here since yesterday, technically, because yesterday was the start of the conference tourneys as the Atlantic Sun got underway last night. And, I'm trying to keep track of everything because I do want to crush a bracket this year and destroy everybody. But the last few years I have been total shit. And, when you lose 3 Final Four teams in the first weekend, it's like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck's wrong with me? But anyway, since I got people in here now, I do want to talk about something that I saw Sunday. And PenguinAZ probably saw this picture. I know Rockin Reese might not have, but I'm going to share my screen here. Now, okay, there we go. Now, I live in the city of Philadelphia, and from Tony Bruno ripping Jim Kenny a new asshole every chance he gets, shit like this comes up. And they banned plastic bags in the city of Philadelphia a couple years ago. and had to get a drink there. And as you see there, my local Giant, which is a couple of blocks away from me, beginning March 6th, there will be a 15-cent fee for each of our paper bags. And I'm going to stop sharing now. So now Aldi is a different thing because Aldi always charge for bags. Because what they do is they, at least my Aldi, around the corner from me, Aldi, there's usually boxes that you put stuff in. I've seen that as well, but I see less of that now. But my point is this, and I tried to tell a couple of my friends when I posted this, and they started responding to it. You know, it's all, you know, the thing is, when they wrote up this ban for plastic bags, you know, okay, save the environment, whatever. My point is this. If you're going to make a ban, whether it's a big city like Philly or some bumblefuck Egypt place in somewhere in the United States where, you know, tumbleweeds, which, you know, they're not going to ban anything there because usually the Democrats are in the big cities for the most part, and the Republicans are usually in the Pennsylvania type areas, you know, the more spread out areas. It's just the way it is, because when you look at a map, like a presidential election, you'll see 90% of the map is red. Well, the reason why it's red is because all those areas where those counties where the Republicans won in a presidential election, let's say, is because you have a county where you have 15 people in it, but Philadelphia has 1 million voters. I'm making numbers up, but you get the idea. So the one thing I mention a couple of times is corporate greed. And with inflation and everything like that, you know, we may be seeing some prices going down now and then. You know, we'll see egg prices skyrocket and then go down. I'm not an egg eater, so, you know, it's not anything like that. But the one thing I have to say, and this isn't just Mayor Kenny, this is every idiot that said, you know what, we got to ban plastic bags. Well, here's the thing. Corporate greed is what you didn't account for when you made this law. Now, granted, you're not going to account for a pandemic, riots, you know, murders of cops or whatever, you know, the riots and everything that happened because of natural disasters. You can't plan for all that shit. I mean, no matter how much you say that, I mean, you can't plan more than a week out. And, you know, even with Hurricane Harvey, you know, the one thing I said was, and I got ripped a new asshole on Twitter when I said, well, why did the mayor tell everybody get the fuck out? And somebody said, have you ever been on this freeway? And I'm like, dude, we got 2 highways like that here in Philadelphia, so don't give me that shit. But the thing is, I really think that now, and it's not about the SNAP benefits. It's not about the SNAP benefits ending, because luckily I don't want to say well off enough, but, you know, working and making money and providing for myself without many issues, I should say. But the point is, and I keep saying the point is about 1 million times, you didn't account for corporate greed. That's the issue that I have with these idiots. And I may lean Democrat, but I'll tell you one thing. I have not voted. I mean, I was sitting through this last night. Now, the primary, I have to vote for a Democrat because, Democrat in Pennsylvania, you got to vote for who you think Democrat. And I haven't even been correct in picking the correct mayoral candidate to win the primary in 24 years. Because I always say, oh, this guy's an asshole. Or Jim Kenney, this guy's a jerk off. 24 years of that shit. So probably the last mayor I voted for correctly was Rendell. And that's how long it was. 7 cycles ago. But the point is, it's not about, keep voting the Democrats in and all that, blah, 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 blah. Well, we're in a city where the Democrats outnumber the Republicans 7 or 8 to 1, may even be even higher of a ratio. But and the last 2 or 3 cycles of elections, a Democrat faced a rhino. And we know that from the last couple of cycles last couple of years where everybody was accusing a Republican of being a Republican in name only. But, you look at it, it's like, didn't you know that this was going to fucking happen? Didn't you know that they were going to say, well, guess what? You can either buy a reusable bag, which is probably about $2 now, I think, with corporate greed and pandemic and inflation and all that shit. Or you can get a brown bag, which is 15 cents a bag. Now, granted, these bags, if you single bag them, which I do with my shit because the giant bags where that store I was, it has a handle on it. Because I also go to the Acme down the street from me. Some people call it Acme here. So if you ever hear that, you hear Tony say Acme, or you hear anybody else in Philly say Acme, they're, same thing. I just try to talk properly, so to speak. Even though people say, oh, you have an accent. Yeah, I know. I talk funny. It happens. But, it's, it's corporate greed that they didn't prepare for. And my opinion is they should have wrote something in that law where they said, you know what? Don't even think about charging these people for those bags because you're already making money hand over fist on us. Even before corporate greed because, oh, and the soda tax here in Philly too because, let's say this is bottle of soda, this seltzer, and they may charge on that as well. In Philadelphia, if this were a 1 liter bottle of soda, it would be another 78 cents to the price of the soda because they charge the distributors a soda tax because the soda is unhealthy. But I mean, that's how fucked up this city is. And then on top of that, you don't even have. I mean, the money doesn't even go to the pre-K. Not all of it. It goes into some slush fund. But so I posted that picture, and I mean, thankfully, the bags are still free at Target. I have the cloth bags that they give you, which aren't that great of bags, but you know what? They last about 3 or 4 times. You get a rip at them, then you trash them. Wally World. PenguinAZ said Wally World 2. What is Wally World? Oh, Walmart. Duh. Actually, here at Walmart here, they do have a plastic bag that they give you, but it's a much thicker bag, and it's not considered a single-use plastic bag, so that's why they allow it, apparently. And I was there right after Christmas. They had no bags in the store whatsoever, and thankfully I didn't buy a lot of things. I think I needed ink, so that's the only thing I really got. So I'm carrying out the store. I give the girl the receipt just to, because I'm the type of person when it comes to that. And when I was younger, I got carded at the racetrack once for not for stepping into the facility, but because of the one time I wanted a beer. And I think they were carding me more because they thought I was a horseman behind in the backstretch and actually being 25 at the time. And they said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 25. You want to see my ID?" No, thank you. Okay. But, if sometimes if you offer it ahead of time before they actually get to that point where they ask you the ID, their erection will stop real quick. Um, but the bags thing is ridiculous because it's all corporate greed now. I mean, I think my Acme charges 11 cents a bag, but the bag does have a handle on it, so that's why Giant's probably charging 15 because look at this nice handle on it. Whatever, but and I know the people that I was mentioning when I said I was going to go on a rant. Sorry, I still haven't gone off on a Tony type rant, but it is still a rant nonetheless. And I did drop an F-bomb or two in there, but not something where the veins are popping out of my neck like Tony, and I don't have the graphics where Quill's rant or anything like that. And I don't need that extra stuff. It's all in fun. So next, so let's get away from that rant. Let's get back to what I really want to talk about, which is sports. Did notice some rules changes being proposed this week, both in the pros and in college. Now, one thing that they did mention a couple of weeks ago was the quarterback sneak play that the Eagles have. They first want to ban that play because it's not aesthetically pleasing. I don't think so. Who cares if it's not aesthetically pleasing? Because the Eagles got it right and got the first down 40 out of 44 times, whatever that crazy fucking number was. The thing is, I don't see how anything's different than that. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to say, well, the running backs and the wide receivers, whoever's in the line, and play action reel. I did see your question. I'll answer that in a second here. It's just that Jeff Stoutland has taught them go low, go as low as you can get. That's why you get the first down. It's a low center of gravity. Boom, you get through. You get that 2-3 yards you need. Now, what I would like to see, and I was hoping to see it in a Super Bowl, which didn't happen. I was hoping for a play like that where you would go as if to do that. Hurts would take one step forward and then drop back and right to the tight end, whatever tight end would be running the go route. Boom, touchdown. That's what I was hoping for in the game. Didn't happen, but I mean, that would have been a play that would have rivaled the ring around the rosy thing that Andy Reid tried to do with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But off of the tangent here for a second, will the Lakers make the play-in? I say no. Now, granted, you have so many teams that are so close up here. Let me just get the standings up here just so I can quote them properly here as we go. I mean, the Lakers are only a half a game behind the Pelicans for 10th, which would get them into the play-in. They're only 2.5 games out behind Dallas for that 6th spot, which means that they would play. They would go right to the first round against Sacramento, who shockingly is in 3rd place. Well, shockingly to me, because I haven't made complete attention to the NBA. But you do have right now, you got, well, they're in 12th place right now. You got to jump Portland, who had that game from Dame Lillard, 71 points. And also you got LeBron out. He's going to be out at least a couple of weeks. The question is he going to come back? Because when I hear something popped, that's not good. I mean, that could have been a bone in there that popped. It could have been a tendon that popped. The adrenaline kicked in right away, and he stayed in the game. But, after doing MRIs or whatever they did, if he's not playing, LA's done. Plain and simple. And Davis the unibrow just came back, I believe, right? Actually, they're playing right now in Memphis, and they're actually winning 65-63 right now. So glad I didn't touch that game. But Anthony Davis has 14 points. Austin Reeves has 15 right now. John Morant only has 12 points right now. Glad I didn't touch that special that they had there. They had a special on the Play Sugar House tonight where Memphis covers the spread, covers 6.5, and John Morant gets top scorer. I was like, I played enough already, because I played 3 college basketball games and did a parlay on top of it. So, but I'll tell you what, if LeBron isn't playing, they're screwed. Now, it may be that tonight, eventually the reality sets in. And what happens if Anthony Davis gets hurt again? If Anthony Davis gets hurt again, they start looking like a G League team. Now, I'm over-exaggerating, because I know any Lakers fans that'll be watching this after the fact will say, did that motherfucker just say that they're a G League team? Got to listen to the whole statement. So if Davis gets hurt, then they'll start looking like it. But yeah, I mean, LeBron's got to come back in 2 weeks. I mean, they're reevaluating after 2 weeks. I saw that today. I don't know what they're going to do. And the one thing is, everybody says about that, the bubble title that the Lakers had. They'll say, oh, that's a bubble title, blah, blah, blah. I'm more impressed that they won in the bubble than most people are, because nobody played for 5 months. No one. I mean, my God, remember the ESPN programming? They had games of horse where, here's so-and-so in their backyard, and here's so-and-so at this secluded playground where nobody's allowed to be in right now. That's what ESPN programming was. And, if the Lakers, I mean, when I hear them say something popped, when I hear LeBron or the trainer, whoever mentions it in the news, when I hear something popped, I think, oh shit. And trust me, I sprained my ankle so many times, and one time, I still say I broke my ankle. They said I severely sprained it. But when you hear something pop, that is not good. Um, and it didn't seem like he rolled his ankle or anything. So I don't know what happened with the foot. I don't know if the arch dropped or. I mean, I'm speculating. I shouldn't be speculating, but something happened to his foot. And, he is 38 years old. So it may be Father Time is trying to say, hey, LeBron, you're getting a little older. I mean, yeah, we do have the medical technology and the health technology and all that stuff. It is going to happen. He is eventually going to have to retire. Now he wants to play with his son, and that's going to be after, because they didn't change the draft rules, so he'll have to be out of high school a year. So probably go to the G League, make some money there, and probably from there you just do what you have to do. And he wants to play with his son. Can you imagine if he goes to Orlando because he bashed Orlando or something years ago, never wanting to play there? Somebody made a Photoshop of him in a Orlando jersey with Bronny, but I mean, I don't know what to think, but I think the Lakers are done if he's out more than 2 weeks, and even 2 weeks may be enough of a nail in the coffin. I mean, what's helping them is they're only 2.5 behind the 6th spot, because after the first couple of teams, everybody's so close. So, so basically, what I would say is, be cautiously optimistic with the Lakers. Kind of like how we think here in Philadelphia. Expect the worst, hope for the best. And when I hear something pop, that's not good. That's not good at all. Trust me. I've sprained ankles and hurt my foot and hurt my knees. It doesn't sound that great. So, on to these rule changes I saw. And in college football, they're eyeing shorter games. And part of it is because of the fact that these games run about 3.5 hours. It happens. And also, in 2024, you got a possibility where some schools are going to have to play 17 games, because there's a possibility that you play in your 12-game regular season, you play a conference championship game, then you're going to play the first round, you're going to play quarters, semis, and national championship. Now, the chances of that aren't that great. But if you think about it, you're going to have some goofy matchups there, and you're going to see some schools that didn't play in those that didn't win their conference, because I believe the first round byes are going to be the best conference winners, and then the final eight are just going to be a mishmash and other shit like that. So I have to look more into it, but you may have a goofy matchup where, let's say Alabama doesn't win the SEC, but they're still good enough to get into the field of 12 in 2024. Let's say that happens. And Duncan, Dad, welcome in here on this Tuesday night. Let's say Alabama doesn't win. Alabama will probably have to go on the road for that first round game at a campus site. And I don't know, they may have to go to Houston or Cincinnati, someplace that they would never go to because they're Alabama. Rockin Reese says the NCAA will find some way to screw up the playoffs no matter what they try. And I agree with you with that as well, and you're going to see it in a couple of weeks with the NCAA men's tournament, especially because everybody's going to be saying this team should be in there. This team should be in there. Now, I can tell you for a fact there were 2 years, and it's not because I'm a Drexel alum. It's only because everybody touted Temple. They were like, I mean, not Temple, Drexel, because, Drexel's RPI back when it was RPI. Drexel's RPI is 35 or even higher than that. And the one year they won 14 games on the road. They even won at Syracuse when Syracuse was a powerhouse. And I think it was the year that VCU went from first four to Final Four. NCAA said, here you go. So, you're going to see that in a couple of weeks as well. But the rules changes that are being proposed that they're going to be discussing in meetings this week. Rule changes include, under consideration, I should say, running the clock after a first down is awarded. So what happens in the NCAA right now is when you get the first down, the clock stops, you move the chains, and then the clock starts. Okay, it's going to cut maybe a play or two here or there. Okay, whatever. And I'm okay with that. And now the thing is, in the last 2 minutes, the clock will stop on when you move the chains. So that's going to happen. And I apologize if you were sitting there in the chat, in the knocker room there, Rockin Reese. I have brought you in here. And there we go.
Hey, what's up, Joe?
How's it going?
Doing good, my man. How about yourself?
Doing good, feeling better. Finally getting 100% after the last couple of weeks with this crap I had.
I had to go to my favorite subject, the NCAA. So let me get this straight. So they're trying to get ready to change the playoffs again for college football.
Well, that's been agreed to.
That's been again.
That's going to be in 24.
When does it take effect? That's 24?
24, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see which teams. How long do you think it's going to be till they wind up in a situation where they screw somebody out of another postseason spot, despite the fact that they're trying to actually expand and leave teams in? Because we've seen seasons where there was literally one undefeated team in the entire D1 that was undefeated, but yet were they anywhere near that playoff picture? No. And why? Because the NCAA, and I've recently made up this phrase for this, they're more about legacy than they are current talent.
Exactly.
And it's like, we gotta have the SEC up in here. We gotta have Georgia. We gotta have Bama. We gotta have or trying to get or maybe going outside conference, try and get like Notre Dame back up to spare, getting Miami back up, or trying to get like some of these other schools. But yet we're seeing schools like Texas, San Antonio, who I didn't even hear of the Roadrunners till like a couple of seasons ago, and I was like, they're doing something out there. And then some of these other smaller schools like Cincinnati, what was it? Just last year they were undefeated going into the playoffs.
Yep.
And it's like, there's a lot of these smaller schools that should be getting a little more shine than they're getting, because they're playing a lot hungrier than I see some of the more powerhouse schools. And not to take away from the teams that have been putting in the work, because like Georgia, like I said, even though, like I said, the SEC does get to shine, there are some teams that do put in their work, and I don't want to discredit them, but you frequently see this, and then I'll say with football a little bit more than I'll say basketball, but basketball is not excluded from this either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like you just brought up, the tournament, yeah, like March Madness, and I'm gonna go on record. I think like even if North Carolina does win the NCAA or at the ACC tournament,
Right.
if they're if they are a top 5 seed in whatever region they're in, I'm calling bullshit. Yeah,
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah. Or matter of fact, or hell, if anything, I would say make them play be in the first 4 if it best, depending on how they do, because yeah, they have not been that impressive this year, and we kind of had to see this coming because a lot of their juniors, seniors already left. Um, Duke, we kind of see the same thing with, especially after Coach K left, uh, and Godspeed to Coach K on his retirement. Um, but we kind of see this because we know UCLA went through it when they were winning championships. We've seen Kentucky go through it when they had their championship heyday. Well, Kansas just got back to winning a championship last year. And it's like all these schools, yeah, they go through those lulls every now and then. And it's like I think sometimes being out of the tournament actually winds up being a good thing for them because now that's gonna bring that fire back and say, hey, we used to be the top of the heap, but you know what? All right, now we've been out. Now we got to get our way back.
Yeah, exactly. And perfect case in point for me locally is Villanova.
Yep.
Jay Wright retired shockingly. I mean, he was only
And
60. He was only 60. Yeah,
2 championships in a 5-year span, I think it was.
yeah. 3 Final Fours.
Yep.
And you had Kyle Neptune take over. And if I got his first name wrong, I apologize. But he came in. Players got to get used to what he wants to run. It's probably a little bit different, and they probably one of the players was hurt most of the year as well, so they weren't on the. They started out in the top 25. They lost to Temple first game out or second game out, and they just haven't been the classic Villanova team of the last 5-10 years where they were getting deep into the tournament or getting to the Final Four like they did 3 times in 5 years.
Yeah. And by the way, you were right. It was Kyle Neptune. And
Okay.
yeah, and I know I was talking about this with Duncan and the guys Friday on Last Call. That just as much as you got the usual suspects, there's always that one team, and it's usually somewhere between the 10, I think like 10 through 14 seats, sometimes even at 15, that they'll just come out of nowhere, and at the right time, they're just like knocking people off. I think it was just last year you had St. Peter's. Yeah, I think have a pretty deep run.
Yeah, St. Peter's got to the regional final.
Yeah,
Oral Roberts got to the Sweet 16 a year or 2 ago as a 15 seed.
Yeah, and that's the thing you gotta watch for is that these teams they get into that mindset of, man, we're playing with house money here, and nobody's expecting us to do anything. But you know what? We catch somebody at the right time. at the right time, and then next thing you know, we're gonna be hey everybody, guess what? We're 1 win away from the Final Four, or we're 1 win away
Mm-hmm.
from playing in a championship game. And hell, look at Miami even.
Yeah.
They got all the way up to the regionals before they eventually lost to Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had
And
Miami on Saturday. I left the casino because I was like, all right, let me do this. Let me do one thing here. Let me play my comp money. Let me go to the sports book for a second. Let me check these horse racing tickets I have. And I left there. Miami was up 25 at the half. They ended up losing to Florida State.
yep. And hell, like I was just going through like some of the more recent tournaments here. Hell, Oregon State.
Yeah.
They were a 12th seed and got all the way to their regional before they lost to Houston. UCLA, they were an 11, and like I said, had that.
They were in the first four.
Yeah, and damn near took Gonzaga to overtime and then lost on that heartbreaking 3. But
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
And that's why I say sometimes that's why you got to watch teams at certain points, because it's like there's teams that like do great in a regular part, but then maybe falter somewhere through and they kind of get exposed. And then there's like some of these other teams that like get hot late. And then for those who should qualify, when they get in, man, they're going to cause some sleepless times. And I'm thinking that NCAA, if they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should let some of these guys in, because technically their records are better than the people we want to let in.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right, you guys showed what you could do. And it's like, yeah, I know we make the schedules up, and I know some conferences are stronger than others, but it's like, all right, let's see what y'all can do.
Yeah. And the one thing that I would like to see in college basketball, and it's never going to happen, and this is something that I came up with. Now, when I first went to school at Holy Family, I was actually in this room where the coach was calling in the score to the NAIA office, wherever the district or whoever he was calling. And back in those days, with the NAIA, you needed either a 500 record or you needed a rating of 20 or above. And however they came to that rating, I don't know what it was. You needed to have one of those two things to qualify for the for the NAIA regional tournament, the conference tournament, whatever. The one thing I propose, especially because I'm a proponent of expanding to 96, because we've had over 100 schools go to Division I. And since 1985, when he went from 50 to 64, whatever that number was in 84, they've only expanded 4 spots. Now, what I'd like to see happen, and people say, well, you're just oversaturating the field and all that. The one thing I would say is you want to make the season more interesting, and unfortunately, the conference tourneys are going to take a hit with this. The one thing I would recommend is if a team cannot get a 500 record overall for the season versus Division I opponents. Now, mind you, some teams have to play those non-Division I teams because they're out in the sticks somewhere, and the only non-conference they can get is Southwest East State from Division III or whatever, or a 500 record within your conference. If you can't achieve one of those two things, I don't think you should be even in the conference tournament, let alone the NCAA tournament. Now, I think the NIT has a thing on there about having to have a 500 record overall, but don't quote me on that. But I would like to see something where if by chance they do eventually expand in whatever year it is, 2040 even, I'd like to see something where you make the regular season more interesting. Can you imagine being 13 and 14 on the year and you're, let's make it 14 and 15, and you're 8 and 9 in conference? You win that final conference game, you get to play in the postseason. You lose that game, you're out.
And
Makes that
despite the fact
regular
that you might
season
be a
game.
leader.
I mean, I'm a little sadistic too, but it would make that final game interesting, even if you got to play the top team in the conference get into the tournament, the conference tournament, let alone the NCAA or whatever postseason tournament.
Yeah, and then also like I would say also maybe switch up some of the regions or whatever, because yeah, I think like everybody needs to actually, actually just dump a lot of the regions, because it's like, yeah, a lot of times you get like a lot of the same matches or whatever, and it's just like, I know it's kind of like tough to like schedule things, but I agree with like keeping the Final Four as is,
Yeah,
but when we get to playing like certain games or whatever, it's like have each matchup happen like whatever the 116 match is, and then the 8-9. Yeah, have them play on the same day, so that way it's at least when the next 2-day match happens, then it's
yeah.
like we get everything going. So
Oh, not only do they play the same day at the same site, you will have Kansas and Morehead State, let's say. Okay, they're going to play the 12 o'clock game, the 12:15 game, first game of the day, playing on CBS.
yeah.
30 minutes after that game's over, the 8-9 game happens. So not only do you have those two teams playing even in the same window, the same half, this first half of the day at that site, they don't have that much of an advantage, because guess what? You're both going to be playing at 5 o'clock on Saturday, because that's the time that we want to get the most eyes on that particular game, and get you maybe even as a standalone game, because with the way that they do the programming now, you have 4 different channels you got to put programming on.
Okay.
So they'll put the standalone games early on, and then they'll have those games overlapping later on.
There's just like a lot of good stuff when it comes to the NCAA. Like I said, they do a good job for the most part.
Yeah.
But it's just like, let's throw some parity up in here a little bit.
Yeah, and the first round, you're going to have the best team playing the worst team. It's going to happen, and and we finally got that 16 beating the 1 out of the way a couple of years ago, and this should be a great year, and I can tell you, when I fill out my bracket, and I'm already registered in a bracket group already. It just seems like what's going to go down here, and I'm not saying what school or anything yet, but a lot of these matchups are going to be these one and done schools versus these schools that these players just have been there 4 years, like a St. Mary's. The schools that they recruit for 4 years, as opposed to a school that recruits for one and done and get them right to the NBA.
And I'd say like overall, yeah, like, overall there is also one extra thing for the seats where the records are identical, and if the tiebreakers really can't apply to like certain teams, I'd be like this: just have them play a just have them do like a 1/4 playoff, and it's like actually, I would eliminate a lot of the conference tournaments. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, you have the best record at the end of the regular season. All right, you get your seed for there. But then for like when you do other conferences or stuff like that, yeah, I'd be like this. That time that you would normally devote to conference tournaments, have a playoff there, and it's like teams with teams with identical records, have them play it off
Yeah.
one game. Whoever wins, they get the higher seed,
Hmm. Yeah.
depending on whether it's like uh the winner gets to be the six, or the winner gets to be the
Yeah.
11, or the winner gets to be the 10th seed or whatever ranking that they're tied at.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. The only problem is you're doing that game even more last minute than trying to get these teams set up to um, Denver. Or I'm just trying to think of the first round sites. Buffalo, you know,
Oh, that's the thing, is like
Florida.
depending on where everybody's at, then
Yeah.
you know, all right, well, all right, there you go. Like, just have it at one of the yeah, just have one of the sites in your region, so
Yeah.
that way, like, everybody doesn't have to travel as much.
Yeah. Because the men's basketball, I think, is the only sport in NCAA that does not have home court advantage.
Nope.
Unless a team like Butler gets to the Final Four like they did a couple of years ago in Indy.
Yeah, because generally there are a lot of teams that don't get to play on their home court per se, but they may play within their state, but not necessarily their own home court. Because I know, like on the women's side, UConn got to play. I think they got to play in Connecticut, but I'm not necessarily sure if it was their court or not, though.
Usually with the women's tournament, um, and I'm gonna restate what I'm gonna say because Duncan Dad said home court possible in the semis. Um, with the women's tournament with UConn, they've been playing the last few years in Bridgeport
Yeah,
because there's a minor league hockey team that plays there, and they play college basketball there once in a while. Now, just to correct myself there a little bit, like for example, Villanova's played at the Wells Fargo Center, but if you play more than 3 games in one arena, regular season games in that arena, if you play more than 3, then it's considered a home court and you can't play there.
and
Because a couple of times that has happened where Villanova has gone there, um, um, but both times that the East Region was in Philadelphia, Villanova got sent out because they weren't the number 1 seed, and they said, "Oh, we can't have them as a 2 seed in the East. Let's put them in the South."
yeah, yeah. Because I know, like, one thing they try to do is they try to evade like having teams play on a relatively home court, because yeah, and I think that's why they do the brackets the way they do, is that they try to avoid any possibility of those teams playing at home. Like I said, unless they get to the Final Four.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, but then again, it's like after that. But then again, after that, like even if you get to the Final Four, like they still want to try and send like an out of conference crew to make sure that there's no favoritism going on, and
yeah,
because a lot of team's conference, of course, they have their set referees or whatever. So
Right. Yeah, and there's nothing. I mean, like for example, and I only know this because I got one of my friends coming in from Vegas. Now, granted, he's not coming in because of me. It's a crazy story where he said, where his son said, where they were watching the Rocky movies. He said, "Dad, are those Rocky steps real?" He said, "Yeah. Why don't we go there?" Father said, "Yeah." And then he tags me on a post on Twitter last night, and he's going to be in Philly the first day of the tournament. So, but I know that, for example, and UNLV is not getting in the tournament, but UNLV, I believe the regional semifinal and final is at the T-Mobile Arena.
yep.
So if that's the case, they would literally be, because I've been to Vegas so many times, they would literally be a mile from campus on the strip.
Okay. All right, let me see which. All right, so here be all the cities. Okay, first four, they'd be at Dayton.
And Dayton, and that's
Yep.
where, and I have to correct myself again here, because Dayton has had to play a first four game there because there's nothing you can do. It's in Dayton.
Yeah. Yeah, and then first round and second round, cities will be Amway Center in Orlando, the Legacy Arena in Birmingham. All right, there's a Wells Fargo in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yep.
The Golden One Center in Sacramento, the MVP Arena in Albany, the Coliseum in Greensboro, Nationwide Arena, of course, Columbus, and Ball Arena in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then East Regional will be at MSG, and the West Regional, like you brought up, be at Vegas, T-Mobile. The South will be at KFC in Louisville, and the Midwest will be in Kansas City at the T-Mobile Center.
Yeah. So, for example, Louisville's not getting into the tournament. They're like 4-27 or something like that this year.
Yeah.
UNLV won't be getting in. St. John's, if they have a miracle run, they can't be at Madison Square Garden because they play most of their conference games there. And then on top of that, they're the host of the region. And who's the one that I missed out on?
Kansas City, T-Mobile Center in Kansas City.
Yeah, and that'll be Kansas's region, because I believe that's probably just the conference that hosts that regional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just Big 12.
yeah. So you're going to see Kansas in that region unless they fall apart here and whatever. But so yeah, you do have. I mean, things are going to be interesting, and of course, everybody's going to be mentioning everything here. Duncan Dad says Loyola needs to win the conference tournament. Ha ha. What up, Purdue? PenguinAZ, I'm winning 50. Ha ha. Kansas up 18-9. Yeah, I was also peeking at the Stores play action reel and welcome in as well. I was peeking in because I played a couple of 9 o'clock games. I played a 9 o'clock parlay of 3 different teams just for laughs. But yeah, I mean, things will be very interesting. And I kind of know how those brackets go for the most part. Now, the way I do my brackets, when I do my 90-16 bracket, I do it differently because I don't like the eye test. I prefer computer rankings. And, it doesn't matter if you're going to have 64, 68, 96, whatever the cutoff is, there's always going to be somebody that says, I should be in over this team. It happens every year. And a couple of times it happened to Syracuse, and the one year they got to the Final Four. It's like, you still didn't deserve to be in there, but, you got lucky because of the 2-3 defense. Kansas in their red uniforms tonight. Yeah. Is Kansas a Nike school?
I believe they are.
I just want to see if somebody else knows that.
Yeah, because
No,
I'm pretty sure like most.
yeah, because if they're a Nike school, then they can print whatever. Yeah, they can make whatever uniform they want. Just to let you guys know what I played tonight. I played San Diego State on the money line. San Diego State's actually a 3-point dog tonight. They're up 3 early on. Virginia Tech is up 9 on Louisville. I think I'm giving 10.5 on that one. And Texas A&M is up on Ole Miss 22-20 right now. Ole Miss was up big early. Ole Miss just fired their head coach. And I figured, okay, well, they're the worst team in the league. I'm going to take a shot at that parlay. So Texas A&M's giving 5. So that's what I have planned for tonight. Hopefully around 11 o'clock I can see winner. Because I put my games on I post my picks on what's called the Pickett app, where it's kind of like Twitter without the political bullshit. And, I keep track of everything that way. College futures, I will look at that on Thursday.
Let's see. See, it looks like they're more Adidas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely Adidas school more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and even Adidas, they'll make 10. They'll make all different uniforms. Now the uniforms that they had on Saturday, because I saw them when I was at the casino, they had a white top, and they had a dark gray shorts. It seemed a little weird because we're used to white on white, red on red, blue on blue. It was a little different, but it was interesting because of the fact that I had flashbacks of when I went to Holy Family, because there used to be a school called Philadelphia Pharmacy, which became University of Sciences. They got swallowed up by St. Joe's University last year. When they were Philadelphia Pharmacy, they wore white top, blue shorts, or blue top, white shorts. It was just an interesting thing that happened over the years with them. Because that's the way that they did those uniforms back then, was the shorts a different color than the jersey top. But
it's always the thing with these days.
But I'm ready for the tourney.
It's also going to go on. But it's also going on the other side. Yeah, I'm with you when it comes to the Lakers, and I don't care if like LeBron and AD were healthy. Yeah, still not trust them, because if they would have held on, and this was like the reason I didn't take them like a couple of years ago after they won the championship. They lost to Phoenix, because I'm like, LeBron and that going to the finals 8 years in a row, it's taking its toll on them.
Yeah.
And when you get, and plus with the style that he usually plays, it's like, dang, dudes are trying to make sure they take you out, because they're trying to make sure he's not a factor in the game if whatever team he was playing on was winning. And I gotta say, like, even for, you think if you're 6'8" and 240 or whatever he was at the time, and you're jumping up constantly, that's definitely going to take its toll on your legs.
Yeah, and also remember, it isn't just the NBA, because you got to remember I'm even going to go and add up the years when he was playing CYO ball or high school ball or AAU ball, whatever, you're playing numerous games a day. It's not going to take as much of a toll because, as we get older, things hurt more as the years progress in our lives. That's going to play a role too, even though once you get to college and pro where you're only going to be playing once every couple of days, it does add up. It adds up more even when you grow older because, the whole father time aspect.
And plus, like, when you have so little time to recover and you're putting on, and you're going like cross country so many times within a month, yeah, it's going to eventually catch up to you. It's like, hell, that's why I think Mike had to retire twice
Yeah.
for when he was with Chicago. And you think about it, that's a good reason why Kobe's latter years you didn't see him playing as much. And
Yeah.
like I said, that's true about any athlete though, because you think of the physicality that there is between like football and hockey as well. Um, Baseball, like I said, you're definitely traveling, and not only that, but then again, you're also like running about a good what? Yeah, 30 miles or whatever it is, like when you're going around the bases and stuff.
Yeah.
And, and then, especially like on those collision plays where you're just trying to, when you're trying to like slide into home just to beat out a tag, or even just like
Mm-hmm.
try and stretch out like an extra step to beat the beat the cutoff at like a first or second or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, stuff like that also takes. And then, of course, if you take like, and then again, if you get hit by a pitch,
Oh, yeah. I've talked about that a few times on here.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's a lot of dingers when it comes to athletes. And
Yeah.
I tell you what, like, props to the trainers and stuff that actually get a lot of these guys recovering faster than what they do because, well, at least the ones that do it the right way. But
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, to like go get in the shape that it takes to compete in athletics.
Yeah.
It, you've got to be like one of those guys, and especially if you do it without like PEDs and stuff. Yeah, you've got to have like a discipline, like a machine.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the recovery process now, and also the way medicine is now, you look at some of the players of yesteryear. You let's take John Madden for example, only because that's the first thing that came to mind. He blew out his knee as a rookie with the Eagles. No way. If he blows out his knee in 2022, 2023, okay, just a reconstruction. He's back on the field in a year. That that technology and advancement in medicine wasn't then back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, and I think of like Jerry Rice and how he was able to stay healthy. And by the way, I saw like that workout like way after he retired, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, the hell? Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no wonder people had a hard time trying to stop you.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't the fastest. His 40 wasn't eye popping, but he knew what he had to do to get open. He knew he did everything he had to do. He trained right. He lasted as long as he did. He was probably, he is the best wide receiver ever.
And then like even if that was the argument with oh yeah, Walt, oh yeah, sweetness. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, him, Emmett, and man, a lot of those guys, like, man, they came up with Yeah, you know what I thought of? They had like the Rocky methods of training, where it's just like you use whatever you got. Like how
Mm-hmm.
if you can't get to a gym, just like damn it, I'll just like get these ropes, get like a couple of tree logs, whatever I can get.
Mm-hmm.
If you live out on a ranch, get you a hay bale or two, or just like use whatever you can grab.
Yeah. Yeah. And Penguin AZ said, I never heard of MJ going into a hyperbaric chamber or front bath shit. Well, a lot of that technology wasn't as well known as it is now.
Yeah, yeah, but
I
then
mean,
again, did Mike really need anything? No,
no.
because if anything, everybody else was traded just to stop him.
Yeah. And, oh, I was going to bring the Penguin AZ on and make it a three-way here, but he left. He, up.
Oh, Bo. Damn.
There we go. I'm going to bring him in as well. We're going to get this really
Yeah.
crazy in here now.
Duncan, that was a good idea. Also, Bo Jackson with the hip. Which, by the way, I was bad because I like to miss out on him. What up, Penguin?
What's up? Sorry, my hair and I don't have the blurred out background like
That's
looked into it, but I couldn't
all right,
get it
Joe.
figured out. But
Oh, man.
no, I just wanted to hop in real quick and talk about that. Like, you know, how you were making a good point, Joe and Rockin Reese, like the medical stuff and how you can treat injuries these days. It's so different as it was when, you know, in the 80s and 90s. And, you know, yes, did it have top end medical and health and whatever? Yes, but it wasn't as advanced. There wasn't as much research as now. Like, look at fucking Patrick Mahomes, okay? He leaves and comes back, gets shot up, and all of a sudden he's good to go and whatever. Like, back in the day, players did come back, but they weren't shot up. You know, they were just, they knew they had to perform and they were willing to do whatever until you could not walk, you know?
Yeah.
Like any of these professional athletes, they would stop until they can't play no more. There was no like, hey, I'm out for the rest of the game. No, fuck that. You know, I'm out when the game's over. So,
yeah. Or either that or until they stretch me out, whichever came first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
you know, I'm going to show my age here. Wasn't it Jack Youngblood? He played the Super Bowl 14 on a broken leg.
That's what like for them to do that stuff now. Well, you know, LeBum is out again for another 2 or 3 weeks. Like, I don't know if the knee, if it ever gets better or if it ever gets any worse. But the guy is out. Like, it's either him or Anthony Davis. They like switch. I think they're on a schedule. You know, like, you know, you got to take like pills or whatever. They're like, all right, it's your week, Bubby. You better get hurt or tell them you're hurt. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Duncan. Yeah, I would say, you definitely pulled some Bull Durham with that one.
Yeah. Duncan Dad says 60s and 80s was a 6-pack of beer, a couple of heaters, an ice bag, and Susan Sarandon.
That's right.
Yeah.
Some greenies, maybe.
Although, I can argue that you can still take Susan Sarandon now.
You could. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely could.
But like one major thing is like when it comes to athletes, like there's just, I think like some of them try to channel like whoever came before them, and it was like, I think like they try to have like their quote unquote Willis Reed moment, or however they did, and like sometimes it winds up working out good. Patrick Mahomes this entire postseason, and then other times, it'll wind up like really, really bad. Like Klay Thompson a couple years ago when him and KD were both out and Toronto just like waxed them in that final.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like KD goes down, then Clay blows out his knee. It's like, because they both got hurt. I think it was Game 5 in Toronto, and then Game 6 in Oakland. I think it was game after game, I believe.
And don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. Do these guys? Is it's a whole different type of athlete nowadays.
Yeah.
These kids are, I mean, a couple months ago, maybe even a year ago, during COVID, that kid, that football player, that everybody thought he was older than 13, and I don't know if that ever came out. I mean, the guy is looking like he's 21, 18, 19 years old, fresh out of high school. Like, some of these kids they're coming out huge.
Yeah.
And it's different times. Yeah, we have better stuff, and these kids. So you got to give it to them. I don't say that LeBum is a bad athlete. I mean, he's great, but it's different times. And I think, I grew up when MJ, Irvin Johnson, when Larry Bird, all them,
Doc was at the
Sean
tail end of his
Kemp,
career.
yeah, like Clyde the Glide Drexler, like like Patrick
Hakeem.
Ewing, like Hakeem, Karl Malone, John Stockton, like
where we had
know?
like we're pretty much, you can have an entire like all-star lineup just by picking
a
the top
couple
guys.
teams. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, this is what I try to do, what I would want to do, but I don't have the balls to do it when they have like a kids promotion at the Phillies games. I would say like this: 14 and under, right? Put that over my head. Hey, I'm under 14.
Yeah. But and then again, you also think of like I was trying to remember the game it happened, but remember the one game, I think it was a Kansas player. Yeah, where he was, when his the bone literally popped out of his damn leg. And
I remember it happening with the year that Louisville won a national title.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the national semifinal game.
Yeah, and I remembered that because you hear about these type of injuries and stuff happen, but you rarely see them, and it was like literally seeing the actual bone coming out of his skin. It was just like, damn. I was about to say, can you imagine how badly you had to do something to have that happen?
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you got people on Facebook and Twitter sharing that video and the pictures all the time. I mean, I don't know what happened with CBS that day. I don't know if they just said, "Oh, we saw it once. We're not going to see it again. We ain't going to do that." But I don't know what. I mean, thankfully now the guys in the truck are going to say, "We're not showing that again. We're not showing it. That's an ugly injury."
Yeah, they usually try to evade this because I know they just did the same thing with the DeMar Hamlin. When he stood up and fell, they cut. I think they maybe showed it once just in case you might have missed it live, but then after that, they didn't show for at least for the time before Monday Night Football officially canceled the game and whatnot.
Yeah, and I mean they did the right thing there. It was just that they didn't have enough time left in the season to do to continue it from where they left off. It was just because it's week 17. What can we do? Nothing.
Yeah. Any early picks from March Madness? Yeah, that's the thing though, because you don't know how everybody's going to be seated. It is except the one thing is, and we're with Selection Sunday coming up in 12 days now.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell because you may have an idea where some of the higher teams may go, but then it's what region are they going to be in? Who's they're going to see?
Yeah, and some of these conferences, and I'm even going to throw the Big East in there this year because I think that Joe Lunardi was saying 4 or 5 teams in the Big East. if you're the sixth team in the Big East and you're on the bubble, whoever that is, the thing is, if you see, if you get into that final bracket, that final region, and you see two Big East teams already in that already in that region, one on the top half, one on the bottom half, okay, NIT, here we go. I mean, you can pretty much guarantee that. And thanks for the ThePenguinAZ for coming in there as well.
Of course, check him out. Check him out with the rest of the guys on Last Call Friday nights, 9:15 Eastern, right here on No Filter.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, I always got a plug for everybody.
Hey, remember that one night last week or 2 weeks ago? I was plugging everything under the sun, even guys that aren't in the Bleacher Brothers teams.
Yeah. Hey, that's how you got to do sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll plug anything.
Yeah, and then you know what else is like the one thing that I do love about March Madness is that how everybody's always counting off like when there's a potential upset getting ready to happen, like everybody just, even though they may be more vested in their own game, but they'll click back just to like catch that one, and
yeah,
they're like, "Whoa, is this really happening?" Especially like if somebody actually like predicted the upset, which I also got to make a call. I want to know how some of these people be getting these damn perfect brackets right now.
Yeah,
because I call a little bit of shenanigans up on that one.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that, because I mean, it's hard enough to get 16 right. Yeah. I mean, last couple of years I got like 10 in a row, and then everything went downhill quickly after that. But you know, there's always going to be some sort of a team that comes out of nowhere that shocks most people, or ESPN or CBS will tout this 12 seed or 13 seed. Oh, be careful of this team against Michigan, and then Michigan trounces them by 40.
Yeah, and you know, there's also the other thing. It's like sometimes seeds can be deceiving, because I'll see a team. All right, I'll just throw a record out and write it. They'll maybe be 24-5 coming into the tournament, and they'll be like a 12th seed or something like that, 12th or 11th seed or something like that. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, yeah, they're gonna make somebody pay for that, and then they show why that they're an 11th. Yep. They get their tail kicked. Yeah. But then there's like somebody who, all right, same area, but they have like I'll go 17-10 record.
Yeah.
And they'll wind up, who the hell are these guys?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll, like I said, they'll wind up getting to the Elite Eight or Final Four or something like that. And it's like,
yeah,
you never know one way or the other.
You never know. I mean, I guarantee you, because my Friday fade picks took a big crash with the Super Bowl picks I had with my prop plays I had on my podcast that Friday night.
Yep.
And then I went 1-2 last Friday night, and there's going to be something in that first day or two where my bracket will get destroyed yet again.
And that's a good thing. Yeah, that's always a good thing about always a good thing about March Madness is that, man, you never know what's going to happen until the game's.
Yep. And these upsets have happened for years upon years upon years. St. Joe's beating a number one DePaul years ago before the 64-team bracket. I think it was 81, I think. You name it. It happens it's happened for years upon years upon years, especially when they started allowing at-large teams into the tourney.
True. And since I just saw Luch on here, it also got me thinking. Yeah, that's also why I always said like hockey's like the more.
Yeah.
Yeah, hockey's the most exciting, but also the most nerve-wracking playoff out of the Big Four because it's like, man, you get like one crazy bounce or like one bad ricochet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like next thing you know, you go from looking like a Stanley Cup contender to being eliminated just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I want to give shout outs to Boston Bruins, Linus Ullmark. Yeah, pulling the first goalie goal in like 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that the other night.
And
And,
I had to say, like, man, that's always like a cool moment because I know like the goalies, they don't always get a chance to do it. It's like, hey, somebody's
mm-hmm.
yeah, of course, I thought back to Hexy when he did it like a couple of times, and then
Yeah.
I know. What's my name? Oh, Brodeur. Yeah, did it 3.
He even did it in a playoff game. Actually, he got
only one.
He got credited. Well, Hextall did do it in the playoffs too.
Yep.
But
Hextall's was legitimate though.
Yeah. The one time Brodeur got a goal in the playoffs, the Flyers iced it down the wrong way and went in the net, and he was the last one to touch it, so he got credit for it.
Yeah, and what was even crazier, it was also on a delayed penalty against the Devils, which was worse.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a couple of them like that one, and it's like the NHL actually has a video showing every time that a goaltender got a goal.
Yeah.
Or at least was credited with one. And I was like, I literally had to watch like a couple of times to make sure. It's like, no, wait a minute. Yeah, he was the last one who touched it.
Yeah.
Well, at least for his team.
Yeah, and it took New Jersey a couple of minutes to say, okay, well, who was the last Devil to touch it? Brodeur, it's his goal. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And Luch said the Bruins are crazy good this year. Yeah, I was reading an article today. At the beginning of the year, you could have had them at 25-1 odds to win the Stanley Cup. They were 14th in the ESPN Power Rankings at the start of the year. I mean, and the Rangers and Devils got better too. That's things you didn't expect. Now, mind you, you got the Flyers who haven't done a thing this year, which I wasn't expecting, and we had a no shit moment from the Flyers as the head coach said, "Oh, we're not making the playoffs this year." I posted a comment on Facebook. I said, "This coming from the no shit department." Yeah. And that's definitely something I have to catch up on because I can guarantee you I'm probably going to have NHL on the TV, NBA playoffs on the laptop, probably the Phillies game on the iPad. I'll be having 3 different things going at once like I usually do that time of the year. It's going to happen. And I have to catch up on hockey before I can really start talking hockey because, especially being here in Philadelphia because not only do you have a bad hockey team, you also had a World Series run and then on top of that, a Super Bowl run. So it's like, oh, by the way, we got the Sixers and the Flyers in this town.
Yeah.
So.
And Sixers could look like they could go on a run, but they're going to have to make some moves. And speaking of which, since we're talking about Flyers, let's go to an X one. Drew just actually helped the Sens beat the Red Wings today. Yeah.
Yeah, Drew's playing for his hometown team, and you got a great. I I don't know what the contract was off the top of my head, but gets to play for his hometown team. I mean, that's any player's dream, no matter what the sport is, to play for your local team or your favorite team or whatever. He got that opportunity.
Yeah, let's say Eric Gustafson. Yeah, Luke Shen just went to Toronto. Rasmus Sandin's now in Washington. Yeah, TSL Colm just went to Edmonton. And let's see, Jesse Puljujärvi's down here in Carolina now.
Yeah,
And
I did see that today.
Yep. All right, so Meyer looks like he made. All right, so Meyer may not play tomorrow for Jersey, and
yeah, but the Flyers are
Minnesota. Yeah.
And the Flyers are horrible. So, and the best part about playoff hockey in overtime.
Yeah, I was about to say especially that.
And the best part. Yeah, and the best part when your team's eliminated, you hope those games go 5, 6, 7 overtimes because you can sit here and relax and watch some fun overtime hockey. Whereas if your team was in it, you're out of nails and nerves are through the roof and all that. When your team's not in, beat the hell out of each other, guys, and make it entertaining.
Yeah. I remembered staying up watching that one game between the Flyers and the Penguins.
Yeah. 5 overtimes.
Yeah, Keith Primo finally getting a winner like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And my body regretted it the very next day.
Yeah. Yeah, I was working late nights at the time, and I was off that day, so thankfully didn't affect my work schedule.
Yeah. Thankfully for me, this was like when I'd had my like quote unquote free year as a kid, because I was like, I wasn't exactly ready for college yet, but I was like, hey, I'm like taking this year off and just like relaxing. I'm like enjoying 17 while I can. So that was pretty much my time. And I was like, thank goodness I had nothing to do the next day.
Yeah.
Because I was like, but man, I would tell you this, if that game would have happened like like any time when I was I would have been screaming my ass off after that win. But yeah, I've seen some epic games. I thought of the one that happened during the pandemic when supposed to Tampa Bay and Columbus went to 5 overtimes or something like that.
Yeah, and that was in the bubble.
Yeah,
and everybody was
the very first game of when they actually got to the conference quarterfinals.
Yeah, and they said, you know what, we can't have this other game because guess what, this first game of the day went 8 hours. We're not going to have them start a game at midnight Eastern time because you got to disinfect. Because remember, that was back when we didn't know as much about COVID and we didn't have a vaccine or anything like that. So,
Yeah, but I was like, that's the one thing I love about like overtime hockey is like, and you'll see when it gets to like double and triple overtimes, and you're like seeing all these shots, and these will be like great quality shots, and it's like, how did you stop that one? And it was like, because you're thinking it'll probably be what, depending on like which region it is, it'll be like maybe 10 o'clock for them or something, like 10, 11 o'clock, and here they are going. And here they are going like a third or fourth period or whatever. And it's like, you're getting shot after shot after shot, and you're just like making narrow glove save, or you're like closing a 5-hole or something, or you just get like a quick stick or whatever. And you're thinking to yourself, man, what's it going to take to finally get a goal in this one?
Yeah. And I mean, the way the NHL overtime is, you're either going to get a goal within the first 3 to 5 minute window, or you're going 3 overtimes. It seems it's either one extreme or the other.
Yep. I'll tell you what, but like I said, that's what makes it such a great sport. Because one day you'll have those games where you're like winning like 6-1 or something. And then next thing you know, you're getting like a 3-2 potential in overtime or something like that. And
Oh yeah, I mean, look at Edmonton and Calgary last year. They had a 9-7 game, and I mean they had one of the highest scoring series in years in their series. I mean, it was reminiscent of the Wayne Gretzky years.
oh yeah, Edmonton to Calgary, yeah, especially in the '80s, that was one hell of a rivalry between
Yeah.
these two. But and then not only that, but you also get like some pretty epic goals too. Because I thought of when Tampa Bay was on their run. I think it was Blake Coleman, like at the end of Game 2 in Tampa. He had that. He like literally skates on a breakaway and just leaps and flings the goal just before the clock expired. And
Yeah.
man, yeah, between them, Tampa Bay and Montreal in that cup, and I was like,
Yeah.
I had to, and I remember I was like, wait, did that actually count? Because I was looking at. I was like looking at the clock thinking, that's not going to happen. And then like at the last second, I see like the lamp light up, and it's like, there's no way he got that shot off in time. And
Yeah.
sure enough,
Mm-hmm.
got it off for like just about a second and a half or something like that. Or
Yeah. And this and the NHL isn't like the NHL isn't like the NBA for those that are listening, even listening after the fact, because in the NHL it's got to be over the line before the clock hits zero.
Yeah.
It's not like basketball where it's just got to leave the hand. It's actually got to be over the line before the clock hits zero.
Yeah. And then of course, like you get those, and since we're keeping on the Lightning, yeah, you think about those goals that kind of pissed you off. Because I remember like the one year when they played Calgary in that final, and I thought Calgary got hosed in that. And I'm still trying to figure out to the day where they actually got the reversal on the one Ginla scored it, and I thought they won in that one.
Yeah. And maybe one year we'll see a Canadian team win a Stanley Cup, but it won't be this year. It's right now it's heavily Boston, but the top two teams that have won, that have the most wins ever, Tampa Bay and Detroit, they both had 63 wins.
Yeah.
Detroit lost to Colorado in the Western Conference Finals, and Tampa Bay, that was the year they got swept by Carolina in the first round.
Yeah, speaking of which, where are yeah, and by the way, speaking of, since we're going to the Canadian teams for a moment, yeah, Toronto, can y'all finally win a playoff series? It's not too much to ask, I don't think.
There was a video that I saw, and I don't think I saved it or shared it. It was a Toronto fan, a Montreal fan interviewing two Toronto fans, and they were going back and forth about Toronto not winning in the first round the last 6 times, and the Montreal fan and Montreal not even being in the playoffs. It was funny. I just wish I saved it. Nah, it must have been on Instagram. I didn't save it. Oh well, yeah. I suck.
Yeah, and trying to see how everybody's lining up right now. Let's say Panthers just knocked out the Lightning. Jackets beat the Blues. Senators, like I said, just beat the Wings.
Yeah.
All right, Isles and Wild They're tied at 1 with about 4 and some change left. Preds and the Penguins are tied with about 6.5. Yep. Kraken doubled up the Blues 4-2. That game's still midway through third. Yeah, Boston's up 2-1 over Calgary in the second. And speaking of high-scoring games, got the Jets are up 5-4 over the Kings. That one still early part of the third.
Wow. Yeah, every once in a while you get one of those crazy scoring games.
And they come a lot more frequently. It is like
Yeah.
you'll like get them like every other day, and it's like some teams like they're trying to get people hot, like especially going into especially like this part of the year when you're like right crunch time and you know that you're trying to get the points while you can.
Yeah.
Especially like if it affects your seeding. Like a lot of teams try to get like a lot of different players hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Duncan Dad said, "Okay, NHL dark horse for the cup. Go." I'll let Luch answer that in the chat.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I mean, truthfully, I don't know if it's a dark horse or not, but with Boston, all the other teams are dark horses, so to speak. Why not Carolina?
Yeah, like Carolina's been there, but like I said, they've been having trouble getting past. Yeah, like either New York or Boston the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So. I would say this: if I had to give a dark horse, though, I'm trying to see like the standings as they are right now to see who would actually be eligible. As fact, I'm gonna say Tampa would be a dark horse because. Yeah, because right now you think after they've been to 3 straight finals, nobody's expecting them to make it back to a 4th one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never seen.
I gotta admit.
Good.
Yeah, I was like, Kraken would definitely be another one, especially like the 2 years. Yeah, being a second-year team, and although now they're kind of sliding a little bit out of it, but I think they are still. I think they still have one of the 2 wild card positions.
Yeah, they have the second spot.
Yep.
But you know what? They win a couple of games with the way that both divisions are in the West. You get a couple of wins, you go from 4th to 1st. Because they're only 6 points.
Especially like in the Pacific.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then, who else could I say? Yeah, I would even say this. Like, I was about to say I'd even put Edmonton in, even though like they did get to like the Western Conference Finals last year. But the thing is, this is the thing that kills me because Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl do so great in the regular season, but then it's like sometimes they kind of peter off in the playoffs.
Oh, and even when I was doing the Funkin' Fantasy with Luigi, we would always give Claude Giroux a hard time because he always came up small in the playoffs, and then it started to become a running joke because we were doing a game where we had clowns for the topic for the fantasy game that we were playing, and I look up Dink the Clown. And I shit you not when I say this. Dink's real name is Claude Giroux.
No way.
And Luigi goes, "Oh, now we know why he always comes up small in the playoffs."
Oh, Lord. You know what? Now I'm actually going to be wanting to look for that now.
I'm going to pull it up here for you. Hold on. No, not Dick the Clown. Dink the Clown.
Yeah.
No, it's not Dink. What?
Oh no, it was no. You're right. It was Dank.
Oh, you know what happened? I put in Dink and
Or did you put in
Google.
Doink?
No, I put in Dink and Google went to Doink. They corrected my spelling.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happened.
Yeah. Usually we'll go to Doink first.
Yeah, and like Luch said here, some of the teams that are dark horses that he thinks the Devils and the Rangers both hurt him. But you know, and that's a great thing with his show that's going to be coming up here. He'll be tackling the hockey topic for everybody, for all the hockey fans out there here on No Filter.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know, that's because I know, Luch is well, of course, it hurts to pick the Devils because I know, Luch is a Rangers fan, so. Yeah, Luch, help me out. I'm pretty sure you're a Rangers fan, but it's if I'm wrong, correct me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah, it always hurts to pick because, like I said, man, especially during them brood year, I used to hate Scott Stevens with a passion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because Matt's acting. But I will say this now: Tom Wilson has now replaced him. Because
Yes.
Swear, between the two of them, they were two of the biggest cheap shot artists I ever watched. Because I remember the one year when New Jersey Anaheim played in the miracle year of Jaguar, and then I remember, I think it was game 4, Stevens knocked out Paul Correa.
Yeah.
And actually Correa's managed not only to return, but he also scored a goal in that game and helped the Ducks tie it up 2-2, but ultimately the Devils wound up winning the cup that year.
Yeah.
Although ironically enough, yeah, Jaguar wound up getting the Conn Smythe despite being on the losing team.
Yeah.
But I was yeah, Stevens was always wanted to know, and like I said, Tom Wilson now for the Caps, pretty much in the same category, but while neither of them are not quite in Todd Bertuzzi range, yeah, they could get pretty close at times.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many guys back from yesteryear that would fit into that Tom Wilson category.
And take care, Dunk.
Yeah. Duncan left us for the evening. Thanks for him for joining in on the chat and getting the chat going there tonight.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Dunk, Luch, Penguin, everybody.
Yeah.
And Joe, thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you on. Plug your show. You plugged everybody else's show, so I'll give you the opportunity to plug yours.
All right. This week on Rocket Jocks, actually time may be determined because I have some scheduling conflicts this week. But of course, we'll be talking about week 3 of XFL. Of course, keeping up with the latest standings on the NHL and NBA as we approach closer to their playoff time. Also, be having news on NCAA as we prepare for both men's and women's March Madness, and also be hyping up AEW's Revolution coming up Sunday, and Saturday night's UFC Heavyweight Championship between Bones Jones and Sirogane for the now undisputed UFC Heavyweight.
Yeah, I want to see that fight, and I may go up to the casino to watch as opposed to paying $80 or whatever it is on ESPN Plus.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, but if But if things work out, then it'll still be normal time Saturday, 3 Eastern, 2
Okay.
Central. Yeah. But I'll definitely have a definitive time maybe by
Yeah.
Friday's last call.
Yeah. And what I will tell everybody who's listening to this after the fact, watching after the fact, always check nofilter.net. There may be a change in there, so feel free to check that out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if you have the Disney Plus bundle or Hulu bundle or something like that. Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah, I have that too, but I'd rather just go to the casino and just sit there for 3 hours.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, though, Joe.
Thank you so much, Rockin Reese.
All right,
Rockin
take
Reese,
care.
everybody. Have a good night, man. Rockin Reese, everybody. Catch him on Saturday. Keep an eye on the No Filter main page for my shows. My shows are scheduled through the middle of March. Rockin Reese is on Saturdays. Pouring Perspective with Duncan Dad Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Last call after the Tony Bruno show. Tony's at 7. He's at 9:15. I'm going to table the rule changes for now. But I do want to do one story. I did have two stories from stupid shit I saw. Let's do both of them. Fuck it. First one, it was a baseball game today in the Grapefruit League. And let me pull it up. And you know how in the we've seen it, especially since the pandemic. You would play another full inning because you want to make sure a certain pitcher gets an inning of work. Well, today the umpire said, "We out," and the Orioles and the Pirates said, "Well, we're still going to play." So what they did was an umpire behind the plate. There was no umpire calling balls and strikes. So, and there was no robo-ump. So they decided, fuck it, we're just going to play. We're just going to play the bottom of the ninth. We're going to get that pitcher some work. And the catcher ended up calling balls and strikes. So, I mean, I could play this video here, but I'll get an ad there beforehand, so I don't want to deal with that. It's a pain in the ass. But the Orioles wanted to get some work on the mound for right-hander Ofridi Gomez, and the catcher I'll just make sure I get the name here. Baltimore skipper Brandon Hyde. We were told by the league that we could clear it with by the umpire and pitch the bottom half the ninth inning, and I guess Chad Fairchild felt that we couldn't. He probably just said, "Fuck it, I'm out. Too hot," and they decided to do the bottom of the ninth inning with no umpire. So, just some stupid. That's one stupid thing I saw there. Also, the other thing I saw here, World Baseball Classic is going to be messing up with anything. Thankfully, you still get them back in time. You get your players back where they can get pitchers can get another game or two in. I'm not sure if Wheeler and Nola are in the U.S. On the U.S. team or not, but whatever it is. And one other thing here. Have you ever sat in a long line And Stephen Luker says, before I get back to the story, the second story here, let's hope the World Baseball Classic will not have any major league players injuries during it. There was actually the Japanese player for the Cubs. He pulled out because he had an injury, and you don't want any injuries. I don't care if it's a minor injury like a broken fingernail, and I'm exaggerating with that, all the way to an elbow tear or whatever. You don't want any injuries. You want the love of the sport, especially in the playing for your country. You don't want any of that happening. But I think it's far enough into spring training where it would be the starting pitcher's second or third start, so you get like 4 or 5 innings out of the guys. So thankfully, hopefully there aren't any injuries involved there. One last thing here. Ever been in a fast food drive-through line and somebody says, man, I don't want to wait in this line? Well, it turns out that a Canadian woman, and let me share this screen as well, and this was on 97, this was mentioned on 97.1 The Ticket. I don't know where they're based out of, but this is out of Canada. I mean, this is a story that would be perfect for Tony Bruno's show, except it's not in Florida. A Canadian woman took her frustrations out to the next level, giving the angry Whopper a run for its money as she inevitably called 911. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Manitoba shared the situation in a tweet Friday saying a woman called 911 to report that a new Burger King drive-thru was taking too long. And we realize you aren't you when you're hungry, but this is not a valid reason to dial 911, the Mounted Police said. You got to be kidding me. Yeah, it's in Manitoba. They've been waiting on the Whopper. And it's raising a serious issue. The tweet was in good fun that they had. There's the tweet there. Received a 911 call from a woman in Steinbeck who was angry about the long drive-through. We realize you aren't you when you're hangry, but this is not a valid reason to dial 911. So, and then there was a reply from Burger King Canada. Steinbeck's have been waiting for that Whopper. But they didn't mention the name, I don't think so. And this is definitely not having it your way, where you don't get up to the front of the line. You got to wait, just like everybody else. So that was a stupid thing I saw on my Facebook. I was like, oh, I got to mention that. That's some stupid shit that I saw. So I am going to table right now because we are over 2.5 hours. And Stephen Luker said, let's just have her name to be Karen. What if her name already is Karen? Because that wouldn't surprise me at all. So I did talk about the bottom of the ninth here. And for those that didn't see her, oh, it's not coming up. Okay. I was going to say 14 and under. This is how you get. This is what I would try to do with Phillies games when they have a 14 and under promotion that looks like it's for 15 and older. I'm under 14, but I'm bummed. Anyways, I'm going to table the rule changes because there are a couple of interesting rule changes even in the NFL. So right now, we'll table that for Thursday night. That'll be a topic that I want to do. Just give you guys an update on that parlay that I have going here. And these are also individual bets as well. Yeah, the parlay does not look good right now. Texas A&M is covering over Ole Miss 46-40. I'm giving 5 points there. Virginia Tech is up 50-47 on Louisville. Louisville is horrible, but they're staying in the game here. Virginia Tech is only up 3. They're giving 10.5. And I have San Diego State on the money line. They're leading Boise State by the slimmest of margins, 1 point. So that's what I've been looking at behind the scenes tonight here as I've been talking to you on this Tuesday night here on the Philly Guy Speaks, which is a Bleacher Brothers Sports Network podcast. So, and also an update on the horse racing picks I had on Friday because I was supposed to have it on Thursday and I forgot. The race at Oaklawn, the Rebel, I knew a long shot was going to win. I had the wrong one. And the race at Sunland that was supposed to be on Sunday, they put it to today because they had extreme wind conditions, and they said, we can't run these races. We can't even see because that area of New Mexico right outside of El Paso is basically a desert. They couldn't even – I mean, it was a vision issue on top of everything else, so they ran it today. My horse won that, so I will update the stats on there. Hopefully, I can get those picks out here for you on Thursday night. If not, you're going to have to wait for the podcast on Friday night. So, but I'm getting hit with the Facebook I am all of a sudden. It was 3. I got to check that later. So hopefully I'll have I'll have a look at those races and how many races are going to be on Saturday? Let's see. There's Gulfstream. There's Aqueduct. There's a race at Santa Anita and a race at Turfway. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 races that I have to go through this week. So hopefully those post position the post position draws were done, and hopefully I can give you a winner so I can impress the shit out of Play Action Real so that when he goes to Turf Paradise in April, I can disappoint him like a motherfucker. Nah, I want to give him some winners because I want to say, hey, yeah, I may not know everything about horse racing, but at least I can try to pick some winners every now and then. So the return on investment is still very good right now. I'm 2 for 3 with winners. Granted, it was a favorite that only paid $3.60 to win on a $2 wager, so I wasn't making much in return. So, but hey, a win is a win. It's better than throwing the money away. Even if you're getting this much extra back, it's better than nothing. So that's how I feel. So I do want to thank everybody that joined me here tonight. Rockin Reese joined in the chat. PenguinAZ joined me in chat. Luch was in here for a little while, helping me with the hockey stuff in the chat. Thank you to him for doing that. Duncan Dad, Stephen Luker is in the chat right now. Let's see here. Yeah, because it started off slow, and I expected that tonight because Tony was on Master Debaters. Hopefully he cleaned up when he was done. Oh, wait, not that? Okay, I'm sorry. Seriously, I knew it was going to be a slow start tonight. Once I saw that he was going to be on Master Debaters, I was like, But, and PenguinAZ said not Master Debaters. So, yeah, I mean, this is all in good fun. And I went way over the time that I planned, and nothing wrong with that. We're having fun here. We're vibing, having fun with Rockin Reese for over an hour there. And, I'm not going to chase you, and who knows, maybe we'll have a quad box going just like on, we'll have a quad box going just like the last call, like they always do on Friday night. And sometimes they go 5 wide where somebody gets bumped because they haven't been talking enough. One day, maybe, who knows? Because this is a slow build, and We had 7 people in here at one time. And I know what you're saying. And I know especially my friends who are on Twitch are like, 7 people? Come on, Joe. But seriously, just the fact that I did shows where nobody watched live. And I know you're saying, well, why did you still do it? It's like, because I knew that people would watch after the fact, because I would see like the number of views on there. That's why. So, but now No Filter is building. I mean, good luck finding my show on Thursday. As of this moment, you got to scroll you got to hit that arrow button probably 3 times just to get to that. But that's what it is. It's a slow build. Like, for example, I had Gerald Contreras joining me that one night, and I was promoting his stuff as well. Hey, if I see it on there and I see you come in, and I know you got a show coming up, I'm going to promote it if you're not going to promote it. But little by little, we're growing, and the podcast will grow. This show will grow. I'm not going to have unrealistic expectations of saying, oh, I want 50,000 people in here, because I set the tickets at 50,000. It has something to do with me being egotistical, the size of this room. It's like, well, I don't want to lock anybody out. So why do 10, 50, whatever that lowest number is? I'm going to put that extra high number because, it's basically a limitless room. And that's what I want to do. I want to grow this little by little. And, I'm going to have my hot takes. I'm going to have my cold takes. I'm going to have those takes where you're going to say, Joe, just shut the fuck up. Like I should be doing right now with this tangent. But, I do see like when I post the audio of this in a little bit, I will see tomorrow who downloads. And I'll see a couple in Pennsylvania. I know who the one is. I have an idea who the second person is, but I don't know if they're the Philly person or not. And then I have a guy that's in New Jersey that listens to me all the time. I have a guy in West Virginia that listens. And every once in a while, I get these crazy ones that come up. Like I had one in Oklahoma. I have one in California. I have one in Florida. I have one in Washington State that comes up. I appreciate everybody that listens, because you know what? I can be boring as fuck. I know that. But, I hope I can bring a couple of good points every now and then, even if it's like whatever. And, I'm not going to do hot takes just for the sake of, pissing somebody off. I can do that easily enough just by, with some Philly takes I could have in next month. But, it's all in good fun. And, just make you think a little bit and like, I'd be like, Joe, what the hell are you thinking? So, I don't want to be sports. I want to be a little bit different from the sports talk. I don't want to be, oh, what's your Mount Rushmore of candy or some shit like that. No, I'm not going to do that stuff. I'm going to do some stupid shit that I saw, like that article from Canada. Going to have some fun here. And hopefully it'll be just as fun on Thursday night. I'll be here at 8 o'clock. The music will start about 7:30-ish. I'll put on a Spotify playlist. I'll put on Daily Mix number 1 or number 2, or, Now you want me to do the Mount Rushmore of candy. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not. No. My show. I'm going to table it, and then I'm going to throw it in the trash. But yeah, but you get the idea. Like, it's like, well, you got to make your sports point here and then answer my question here. What's your favorite candy? I'm not doing that stuff. I want to have some fun here with you guys, because that's what it's all. That's what I'm all about. I'm about having fun. And when it's not fun, I'm not going to do this anymore. And truthfully, I'm having too much fun with this. So I'm going to call it a night here, and I am going to work on going to download the audio portion of this off of the video here, and we will get that up and running for tomorrow for anybody who wants to listen after the fact. Video will be archived for 2 weeks. And I'm going to start uploading the videos onto my YouTube. I know, I think AJ's uploading mine. If not, it'll be uploaded on mine as well. Or even if it's double, I'll just edit out the music. So I do want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Thursday at 8 o'clock. I'm scheduled out through the 14th of March. The 16th is a Thursday. I am taking that night off because I do have friends coming in from Vegas. Bleacher Brothers tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, right? Because I'm all screwed up because my hours are going to be changing on the 19th. So I do want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. And yes, it is 8 o'clock tomorrow night. I'll be coming up with quick one-liners in the chat. And I'll catch you all on there tomorrow night. I'll be watching in the chat room. And I will catch you Thursday here on the Philly Guy Speaks on No Filter, part of the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Good night, everybody.